Stand by, everyone. Just a moment. Okay, we are live on YouTube and ready to commence.
All right, welcome everyone. This is Monday, July 19th. It's 3 p.m. and this is the regular meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners being held virtually. First item on our agenda would be to call the meeting to order, and I have done so. Next item would be to establish a quorum, and we have all three commissioners present, which does constitute a quorum. Next item, we do have a resolution declaring July 18 through 24, 2021 as Pretrial Services Week in Lincoln County. Our presenter is Lieutenant Russell, the jail commander, and I will say that I think this is one of several activities, services, changes in how we do business that has improved the success of inmates, or I guess they're called adults in custody now, transitioning into a better role in society. So with that, Lieutenant Russell.
Good afternoon, Chair Hunt and members of the board. I am Lieutenant Jamie Russell and I serve as your jail commander. Thank you again for allowing me to speak today in recognition of our amazing pretrial team. Our pretrial team in Lincoln County went live October 15th of 2018. This was made possible by the generous addition of 2 additional pretrial specialists. Specific thanks to the Board of Commissioners for adding those positions. Since that date, we have had approximately 3,500 clients work their way through the pretrial program. Currently, our team consists of 2 pretrial specialists and 1 pretrial counselor, which is funded through a Bureau of Justice Assistance grant, and the program is supervised by a corrections sergeant. The team quickly identified housing as a barrier for many of our clients. Through a continued partnership with our Lincoln County Health and Human Services, we were able to secure a house within a close proximity to necessary services. Quick work was completed, and on February 25th, 2019, we housed our first client. Since that date, we have housed 69 clients at the pretrial house. Through a partnership with Chance, they continue to fund a full-time peer mentor to assist with necessary needs of the clients, as well as providing support for them. Our pretrial team has a passion for the work they do. They are constantly challenging themselves to think outside of the box while also continuing to provide a safe, secure environment for the client. As I conclude my thoughts, I wanted to share a few statements from a former pretrial client. The structure and support of the pretrial services kept me glued together one day at a time. It provided me hope. Lincoln County Pretrial Services gave me an opportunity that jail couldn't provide me. It gave me a chance to get to know myself and, most importantly, to forgive myself when I take accountability. Since I've been released from jail, I've been able to accomplish more than I ever thought possible. Today, I remember where I was and I look at where I am now and can't wait to see what the future brings. I'll leave you with this. I've learned when I take accountability, I am present, and when I am present, I am living. I think we can all agree that those are some pretty powerful words. This is exactly what we hope and wish for all of our pretrial clients. We know that we won't have this impact on everyone, but you never know when something you say or an action you show is the time that it will stick. This team continues to amaze me, and I would hope you agree that we should all be very proud of them. Thank you.
All right, and one of the disadvantages of virtual meetings is Commissioner Hall couldn't have nudged me and said, maybe I should read the proclamation before we hear your comments, but I will ask her to do that now, and then commissioners can comment after that. So Commissioner Hall.
Happy to do that, Commissioner Hunt, and if I could read the proclamation and then offer a few comments of my own. In the matter of proclaiming July 18th through 24th, 2021 as National Pretrial Services Week in Lincoln County. Whereas pretrial staff members are an essential part of the criminal justice system, and whereas pretrial staff members uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas pretrial staff members are responsible for monitoring clients while in the community. And whereas pretrial staff members are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for clients. And whereas pretrial staff members work in partnership with community agencies. And whereas pretrial staff members promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy. Now, therefore, we, the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, call upon all citizens of Lincoln County and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of July 18th through 24th, 2021 as National Pretrial Services Week in Lincoln County, in which all of our citizens may honor all pretrial staff by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities. And just a little more historical context, which I think might be valuable for the public. Many years ago, Lincoln County did have a state employee attached to the state court system, a single employee who handled pretrial services. But unfortunately, that fell victim to a round of state budget cuts and was never restored by the state. So I want to offer a big thank you to Sheriff Landers, Lieutenant Russell, and the Sheriff's Office team for the vision to not only recreate that, but create something bigger and much better by having 2 full-time specialists, making use of the house that was mentioned, and the investment by the Board of Commissioners in 2018 to create these positions had further beneficial effects even beyond the number of lives that have been touched positively by the program, that it really was, I think, one of the key elements in us securing the 3-year, $750,000 Bureau of Justice Assistance grant that Lieutenant Russell mentioned, that has really allowed us to make this a very robust program, as well as launching other initiatives under the whole broad umbrella of stepping up the effort to hopefully divert people from the justice system, but when they do enter the justice system, to hopefully prevent them from cycling through the revolving door, but giving them the tools and at least the opportunity to turn their lives around for the better. So I'm very pleased to see us considering this resolution today. And thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Questions or comments, Commissioner Jacobson?
Sorry about that. I'm still not used to Zoom and how to unmute myself. I think there's been excellent comments and a presentation made. Just a big thank you for everything you do for the community. And also just a note that, you know, every couple months, it seems like we get a nice kind of heartfelt letter written by a family member or written by a person that has used those services. So I think it's one thing for us to all say, you know, how important they are when the 3 of us have never used them. But like I said, we do get a lot of feedback from people that have. So just a big thank you.
All right. And as I said earlier, I think this is one of several programs that our county and certainly the Sheriff's Office should be proud of. Really proactive ideas that have, in my opinion, and I think the evidence, we've heard evidence today that really makes a difference in the lives of these people and is a significant factor in reducing recidivism. And of course, as I think it was Albert Einstein said, if you continue to do the same thing and expect different results, that's a definition of insanity. So certainly we're doing different things and getting different results, which speaks again to the strengths of the programs, the people involved, and certainly the partnerships with others in our communities. So keep up the good work. Any last comments, Lieutenant Russell, or I see Director Campa's on the phone or on the screen. Don't know if he has anything to add to this or not.
You know, I would just like to add that, you know, it's been a great partnership. I think that those services are, they you know, dovetail perfectly with what we do. And I think as we continue to move forward, I think we'll find better ways to try to partner and make sure that those guys are getting the services that they need.
All right. There are no last comments. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of resolution number 21-19-7A, declaring July 18th to 24th, 2021 as pretrial services week in Lincoln County.
And I will second the motion made.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries. Thank you. And again, thank you, Lieutenant Russell.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the introduction of new hires. And this is kind of a combination of a couple of months. And if my memory of the alphabet is correct, there are 26 letters in our alphabet, and this list goes to AA. So there must be 27 new hires on this list. And I believe Assistant Director of Personnel, Jaylene Cook, is present to provide introductions, which normally we do the first meeting of each month, but we're doing it today on the 19th instead of the first meeting earlier this month.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for having me. I'm definitely pleased to introduce all these folks. It's always exciting when we have new people start, and having 27 is definitely a high one for us. It's been a while since we've seen that. So I will go ahead and go through the list. If there's anyone attending and you can turn your camera on, please, just give a wave so we can recognize that you're here. I do want to proactively apologize here if I mispronounce anyone's name. I will do my best. So Jason Williams started with us as an environmental health specialist. Ryan Irvin started as a clinical counselor 4. Elizabeth McGill, another environmental health specialist, but a trainee. Talitha Gibson joined us as a seasonal parks employee. Robert Shaver started as a seasonal public works employee. Asia Richardson rejoined us as a contract employee. Corey Charnley started as a family nurse practitioner. Aaron Ferguson rejoined us as a legal secretary. Seth Bunn joined us as a corrections deputy. Kelly Lyles came on board as an office assistant 2. Hannah Zavaki transitioned from a part-time non-benefited spot into a full-time senior legal secretary position. Sarah Tabb also rejoined us as an evidence control specialist. Callie Lamandola Gilliam joined us as an epidemiologist, communicable disease investigator. Madeline Baker came on board as a health education specialist. Denise Kyle started as a certified medical assistant. Christina Roast joined as a community health worker. Michelle Barber came on as a legal secretary 2, case manager. Edgar Chavez is another corrections deputy for us. Joseph Wade transitioned into full-time as an office assistant 2 in public health. Jackson Razuski started as a seasonal public works employee. Mason McAlpine also joined as seasonal public works. Nathan Harrow joined as a youth care specialist. Eric Vaughn came on board as a COVID response worker, as did Jesse Noble, Melissa Hernandez Pacheco, and Angel Jimenez. And finally, Sally Edwards joined the team as a warrants transport worker.
All right, well done with those names. Far better than I would have been able to do. And welcome to all of those employees. I know I speak for my fellow commissioners when I say come and visit us, and we're always happy to meet with employees. And as new employees, we hope to see some of you when we do our recognition of 5-year anniversaries, which is the next thing on our agenda. So thank you, Jaylene. And again, welcome to all those new employees. And with that, we will move again to an item that normally we do on our first meeting of the month, but was delayed this month. And we have 3 if I can find my agenda. Well, I'll look at the one there. We have 3 employees that we're recognizing for a total of 35 years. And first, we have Luis Arujo in the DA's office, 5 years. Jennifer Monroe, also in the DA's office for 5 years. And then Melissa Baker in Health and Human Services for 15 years. And I will confess, I wasn't sure if Madeline Baker was Melissa Baker or not, but I now understand they're 2 different employees, both who happen to be in the Health and Human Services Department. But again, appreciate the hard work and dedication of those employees, and keep up the good work. It's much appreciated. All right, if there's nothing more on employee recognition or new hires, we'll move on to the adoption of the consent calendar. These are items of a routine nature or items that have come before the Board of Commissioners previously. If there's an item that commissioners or staff wish to highlight, they may do so now. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
The consent calendar has been adopted. Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to decision and action items. And this first item is an ordinance that has been before us before, but I'll turn the meeting over to Councilor Herbage for additional discussion and potentially a decision.
Thank you, Chair. This is Jerry Herbage, Assistant County Counsel. And you do have an ordinance before you, and it's come before you previously, plus you sent out a letter related to this ordinance. May I read by title only?
It's okay with me, and my fellow commissioners are nodding affirmatively.
Thank you. Relating to special road districts and amending Lincoln County Code Section 6.480 and declaring an emergency. So this ordinance, which has been discussed previously before the board, would change the Belmer-Siegel Tract Special Road District governing body means of being taking office from being an appointed board to being an elected board. And this would take effect beginning with the election. At least the election would be in November of 2021, with board members that are elected taking office July 1st of 2022. In the interim, there would be appointed members who would serve in this intervening period. I would ask Casey Miller, who's present here, have there been any public comments regarding this ordinance?
There have not been any comments. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's what I have, commissioners. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would ask that you consider approving this because there are timelines with the clerk in terms of getting things published and getting ready for the election.
Commissioners, questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt the proposed ordinance related to special road districts, amending Lincoln County Code Chapter 6.480 and declaring an emergency.
I will second the motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries, and I will note that we will be providing additional information about individuals that are interested in being appointed to the board to serve until the elected officials take office on July 1st, 2022. And with that, move on to our next item on the agenda, which is a designation of a newspaper for publication of the 2021 Lincoln County foreclosure list. Is that County Council Ewell or?
Yeah, I'd be
someone
happy.
else?
I'd be happy to handle this. This is Jerry Herbage again, Assistant County Counsel.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so you have that order 7-21 that's before you, and it is a proposed order designating the newspaper for publication of the 2021 Lincoln County foreclosure list. Obviously, this is a yearly thing. There are foreclosures each year. And one of the requirements is, well, the tax collector first prepares a foreclosure list, and this needs to be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the county. On June 21st, the tax collector sent a notice to both the Newport News Times and the Lincoln City News Guard asking for a quote, and along with a deadline for proofing. And the News Guard declined to bid, which was their option for sure. But the Newport News Times submitted a quote on June 24th, and that quote is included within the order. They also put in a deadline for proofing. I would recommend to this board that you approve the order designating the Newport News Times as a newspaper to publish the foreclosure list.
Questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
No question. It's a pretty easy choice when there's only one proposal.
Tough to argue with that observation. I might point out that if I remember the memorandum correctly, the cost is in line what we have paid for this service in prior years.
That is my understanding.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion designating Newport News Times newspaper for publication of the 2021 Lincoln County foreclosure list.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And that order is approved. All right, moving on, we've got a couple of discussion items. The first is the recommendations of the Nonprofit Social Allocation Committee as far as allocations of the county's general funds to our nonprofit agencies in the county. And I believe we have Leslie, who is one of the members of that committee. Leslie, good to see you again virtually. I see each other on several different gatherings, but welcome, and please provide us with your report.
Excellent. And Christy Peter is also here to joint present, I believe.
Yep. I'm here.
There you go. Christy, did you want to start off?
Yeah, I think this is the largest that I've seen on grant applicants since I started doing this this grant. There's 32 applicants this year, totaling over $400,000. So it's quite a bit. We're currently working on redesigning this grant, taking feedback from applicants and the committee overall to provide the service providers a more valued and enjoyable experience, to meaningfully engage the committee, increase understanding and appreciation of the service provider's work, gather that feedback on the county grant making process, and then really get a visual depiction of how these providers identify their connections with one another. So yeah, this year we operated the grant meeting a little bit differently. We broke it down to 3 groups of 10 to 11 agencies that have similar social services. And yeah, we're moving forward next year, hopefully make more changes as we continue to review this process.
Leslie.
Thanks. This is my second year on the committee, and I really appreciate this opportunity to get to know folks who are doing such important work, especially after this past year. I always appreciate all the work that Christy puts into putting together our packets, and those of us who like the hard copies, the virtual binder of all of the grant requests. And this year I felt like it was a little bit of a in-person celebrity meet and greet event by getting to see all the folks who have just been doing so much work that I've been following over the past year, especially as my new job as the Vision Program Coordinator for the City of Newport. The committee, really, I enjoy working with them. I love how the averaging of the 5 committee members tends to average out pretty great across the board. This year, as usual, we're focusing on historical allotments for agencies that have been in the area and networking with each other for a long time. Of course, we had the newer groups on the block because of the fire response. So it's really amazing to see the networking that they've already been able to do in such short time, and how they can set up our county for more success in the unfortunate future occurrence of future wildfires. Yeah, I'm just so grateful for the county to have these grant allotments every year from the general funds. And I'm also really grateful that there is focus on trying to make this process as mutually beneficial as possible for the organizations that participate. And one of those improvements I'm looking forward to doing what I can to help with is create a network of kind of a visual of the networking between the nonprofits that already exist in Lincoln County, just so everyone besides the commission that's working on this and the committee that's working on this in the future can see who's already connected with each other, to keep that collaboration alive, because that will last and benefit longer than any short-term amount of grants can. And so, yeah, with that, I open to any questions from the commission. And yeah.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? This is the first time we've seen the list. We'll have an opportunity to review it in more depth, but certainly, at least on my quick review, it seems like good work was done by the committee.
I just wanted to give both Christy and Leslie a thank you. You know, not only do we see more applicants than we have in the past, which means more work, but I also know that they both kind of took the opportunity to work together and figure out a new process internally for us to use and for groups to actually make their application and presentations, which what I've heard back from some of the groups that have presented is it was a lot smoother and a lot kind of easier for them to do that. So just a thank you for you know, rethinking how we do things and finding efficiencies where we're able.
Commissioner Hall?
I appreciate the efforts to streamline the process and update it. And, you know, at first glance, this looks like a great list. You know, I can remember many years, not that many years ago, it seemed like we were maybe only having 12, 15 nonprofits apply so to see a list this long is really heartening and a reminder of all the groups working to do good for the community.
All right, now I will take a moment, frankly, to provide a little bit of history on this program. It goes back to Commissioner Don Lindley, who, as I've always said, is a good friend, even though he's a better golfer than I am. But this was an idea that was, I think, conceived by Commissioner Lindley. And Christy, you can correct me, but I believe the county has been awarding these allocations since about 1998. And I think we've awarded over Commissioner Hall.
Actually, you know, well, this format was Commissioner Lindley's idea that the county had been funding nonprofits many years before that, whereas, you know, up till then, there was really no organized process that basically the groups that could pack the hearing room with the most supporters, it seemed like ended up getting the most money. And It was Commissioner Lindley's initiative that said, no, we need to have a process with organized set criteria. And that's when this format was put in place.
Well, certainly Commissioner Lindley has his imprint on it to this day. Good information. I will also point out that, again, as both my fellow commissioners have noted, I really appreciate the efforts of Christy and Leslie to look at how this process could be improved. I served on this committee prior to becoming a commissioner, and I know the nights were extraordinarily long when you have, back in those days, even 15 or 20 people each waiting their turn in the room. And so by breaking it up into groups of 3, it certainly was much more efficient use of the directors of the different agencies that were coming before the committee for an opportunity to discuss their requests. So a big improvement, and really appreciate the hard work. I know for Christy, certainly took some time away from her 2 children, and family is important to me, so I always try to recognize that. But again, great work. Last comment I'll make is I think that the public really needs to understand how special this type of a program is. When I talk to other commissioners and other counties about the concept where we take money and allocate it to our nonprofit social agencies and in effect leverage the impact and benefit to our communities and our residents, they all love the idea and say, where does the money come from? And I say, well, we take it out of our general fund. And they all go, oh, well. So the fact that we use general fund money for this purpose, I think makes it very special throughout the state. And with that, again, I'll say thank you to Leslie, thank you to Christy, and any last comments from my commissioners?
I'd like to say one more thing.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank Leslie because she's gone above and beyond what I've asked her to do as a committee member, and her enthusiasm and drive to connect people in the community and really make this a better place to live all around is inspiring. So I'm happy to have her.
Well said. All right. Thank you, Leslie. I'm sure I'll see you soon again. Take care. All right. Next item is a discussion on a resolution initiating procedures for the Cape Foulweather Sanitary District dissolution. That Council Herbage?
No, it's Council Yule.
Oh, okay. County
right.
Council Yule, welcome.
Thank you. So I want to talk about this as kind of a different, you haven't seen this one before. So they're actually going and they're dissolving this under a different provision under the statute. And so when the district was originally formed, it was to do a sewer project in Beverly Beach. So the board, that's no longer necessary. It's no longer even part of the district. So they're proposing to dissolve under ORS 198-940 sub 4, basically because the district is no longer necessary for the purpose in which it was originally formed. So their board has sent out, actually, they've had a few public hearings on this to hear from their constituents and from their district members on dissolving. So they have all their ducks in a row. They have had no negative feedback about the dissolution. And so they sent their resolution to our office, and we are moving forward with helping them dissolve the district. And so this resolution is before you commissioners to consider. And so this would be the first step in the process to dissolve this district. You've seen a few of these come before you, but the purpose, I guess, behind dissolving is a little different. We haven't looked at this one before. Do you have any questions about this?
Commissioners, questions? Nope. I'm sure that Commissioner Thompson would be smiling because, as he's often pointed out, it's rare that the government gets smaller, but this is one of the ways that we do.
Indeed. So I would request that you take action on this today. So we can start the process of contacting all the district members and moving forward with dissolution.
will
My
make-
fellow,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was
No,
going to say, I can make a motion initiating procedures for the dissolution of the Cape Foul Sanitary District.
And I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. You have your decision, Council Ewell.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to reports. And first report is on our COVID vaccination update. And Interim Public Health Director Florence Portal, give us the latest.
Good afternoon,
There you are.
commissioners. All right, the COVID update. So it's we're keep on, seeing smaller numbers, which is really good. At this time, we are at 37 cases of COVID-19 that have been reported to us. For the month of July, we are really getting close to a total of 1,500 cases since the start of the pandemic. We're shy of 6 at this time. Our hospitalization numbers have been stable, and as you can see, I always like to compare our AP curve with kind of what's going on at the state level, and you can see that we have a very similar curve. Overall, Oregon is doing good. We're really trending down. We're seeing just a slight uptick statewide of cases, and mostly in people who are either not fully vaccinated or yet to be vaccinated. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. So last week we had 20 cases. It's those cases are pretty well distributed across places and locations in the county. The majority, 50% of our cases are falling within the category 19 to 49 years old. And as you can see, we have 85% of our cases who do not report a vaccine status. Next slide, please. So out of the cases we receive, there are specific criteria where we can ask for oh, I'm not finding the word for some reason. My apologies. We can ask the Oregon State Public Health Lab to look at what type of variant we have going on in the county. So, mostly in Lincoln County, we've seen the California variants, which are the B1.427, the 2 epsilon variant, and then of course, the Alpha variant, which is the UK B117 variant. Interestingly, the Delta variant is starting to pick up steam at the state level and is likely gonna take over at least the P1 variant, or otherwise known as the Gamma variant. The interesting piece of information that I would like to share with you today about the Delta variant is that a study came out, I believe, last week, and really discussed the fact that, yes, the Delta variant is way more transmissible and creates therefore more disease. We're seeing more disease because of the transmissibility of that variant. And we're also finding out that it's not necessarily creating more severe disease, which is good news, So I thought I would share this information with you all. Next slide, please. So moving on to vaccination. So what I thought we would do is kind of look at where we at in Lincoln County and kind of compare us to what's happening in overall at the statewide level. So, you know, in Lincoln County, we're doing really good. We almost have 31,000 people vaccinated, which is so exciting. And that represents 71.63% of people who are eligible to being vaccinated. So everyone age 12 and older. And we've seen an increase of 0.7% over the last week numbers. So, you know, as you can see, we're making some good progress, even for our younger folks. So the state, an important point to note also is that the Oregon Health Authority has shifted the focus from 65% vaccinated to an 80% target. And so the numbers you see underneath each column in the upper graph is the number of people yet to be vaccinated to reach 80% in each age category. So if you compare our vaccination rates with the state, you know, we're doing overall really, really good. We're tracking extremely well, and sometimes we're a little bit over the state vaccination rate. So I just thought that would be a good visual and for people also to realize like how this community really has done such a good job at ensuring that we're able to protect each other as much as possible from COVID. Next slide, please. All right, so then we, you know, as usual, we're looking at the data and looking at where are those areas where our vaccination rates could be improved, you know. So, you know, I think we're seeing some good changes, you know. This is a comparative. So this is the data current as of Friday. And of course, our baseline data that we've been using is the June 7th vaccination rate. And, you know, even though the increase is slow, it's slow and steady. So this is very good. And we're making some progress. This is what's important. And as you can see, we have specific clinics that are in the planning to really target these areas and make the vaccine more accessible to people. Next slide, please. Do you have any questions?
Questions or comments, commissioners?
No questions from me, just continued thank you to Florence and the team for their ongoing good work in pushing those numbers upward. And our case numbers seem to suggest, Florence, would you say this is fair to say, COVID is down in Lincoln County, but it's certainly not out. And just want to continue to encourage people to get vaccinated if they haven't yet for some reason, and continue to take common sense precautions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do have a question. I have Googled this answer and tried to stay up on it as well, but just curious if you had any insight coming from OHA or other sources, which is a timeline for vaccines under the age of 12.
No, we do not have a timeline yet. No timeline. And actually an interesting piece of information that I would like to share that I learned about this morning is about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So if people are interested in getting this one dose only vaccine I would really recommend that they, go on the website, give us a call, try to identify a location where the vaccine is available. We carry it at every clinic we run. And the reason for that is, so far we have a little bit more inventory left in Oregon. But what I learned this morning is that the facility in Maryland that produces the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is not yet up and running. So that means that right now we can only count on the supply we have, and there is no new vaccine coming in. So so I would say if you want a J&J, I would encourage you to get one as soon as possible.
Thanks, Florence.
You're welcome.
Good information. Florence, I might note, and I don't think this particularly applies to Lincoln County because as you've shown us, our staff, you and the public health department have done an incredible job of getting people vaccinated. But there was an interesting article in today's New York Times that talked about the fact that starting to see kind of a reversal of the vaccination resistance that has been part of the challenge that public health has faced throughout our nation. And it was interesting that that article attributed this kind of renewed interest in vaccinations, attributed it to really three factors. Number one is people are starting to realize there have been a lot of people that have been vaccinated throughout the country, throughout the world. And for the most part, there haven't been a lot of adverse reactions. Second of all, there is a recognition that more and more people that are being advocates for the vaccine are not necessarily, government officials, and therefore, quite frankly, have a little more credibility with a lot of people out in the public. And finally, I think people are recognizing that, as Commissioner Hall's already indicated, the vaccine is not, the virus has not gone away, and there may be some future impacts on services that can be accessed by people, whether or not they've been vaccinated. So I thought that was kind of an interesting article that talked about some of the factors that, frankly, seem to be driving a little higher level of interest in vaccinations lately. So I don't know if you have any comments or not, but for what it's worth.
No, I think this is great. I'm definitely going to be sure to read it tonight when I go home. But I think just as an anecdote, I don't even know that it's appropriate, and I apologize if it's not. I talked to my dad last night, and they live in France, and he was telling me how totally different government system, right? And so the president said, hey, if you don't, next week we're implementing this vaccination pass. And if you don't have the vaccination pass, that's gonna really be impeding you from doing all sorts of activities. And apparently they saw 3 million people went ahead and got a vaccine just because they wanted to be sure that they could do all those activities. So, it's just interesting what motivates folks sometimes.
I had a very, very similar experience. My oldest son, Miles, is in the Army and stationed in Germany, and he got vaccinated early when he was able to, but he was one of few people let off the base and able to come home for a couple of weeks about a week and a half ago because he was vaccinated. So, we were very grateful for his choice and being able to see us after 18 months.
Yes, and also before I forget, the last piece of information I wanted to give you is that starting today, we have a campaign vaccine promotion campaign that is going to play on TV, I believe Channel 2 and Channel 12. That I showed you the videos already, but it's starting today and it's going to be for 4 weeks. So we're hoping it's going to also get some people to us and to a vaccine.
Very good. Any last comments? All right. Again, Florence, appreciate the hard work of you and our, excuse me, staff, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, we'll move on to the Echo Mountain Fire update, and Public Information Officer Miller, I believe you'll start that, possibly supplemented by our own Commissioner Jacobson and Director Kenyon.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Getting vaccinated. I just want to put in a plug for also put together your go bag.
Yeah, today's Oregonian.
Yep. Good idea, being proactive. Just a few things from me before maybe Katie gives us an update about those legislative funds she's after, and Roy Kenyon in regard to the cleanup. Looks like the last notification I've got from the Debris Management Task Force is they are 86% complete on debris removal. Hazard tree removal is at 61% complete. So they're having a few properties here and there trickle in regard to the ROEs. So that's good. I didn't mention this to you last week, but in June, our planning department reported that they issued 30 permits in June. So still making progress in planning. Last week as well, I mentioned that the anniversary event or the Otis Fire commemoration event, more specifically, is planned for August 28th. And it sounds like since I talked to you that event is going to be at the Otis Fire Station is not going to work out anymore. So looking for a venue for this event, and that is to be determined, but they are still looking for volunteers. We have links to that in the North Lincoln Rebuild section of our website if people are listening and interested in volunteering for that event. And then I know Katie passed on the inquiry of FEMA coming back for a re-engagement event number 2 in September. It sounds like that is something that everybody has agreed would be a good idea. So I'm not sure of the dates on that. Katie might have that in September. So that's about all I have for you today. And I will pass the torch.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thanks, Casey. Yeah, I'll just follow up on a few things Casey said. One is I just wanted to note that we have our very own Fire Team 11, which is basically Depot Bay Fire that just returned from several days working the bootleg fire. And all of them are home and safe. So just a big thank you to all of them for helping out another county during a time of need. Additionally, back to recovery from our fire, FEMA, as Casey said, is considering another re-engagement opportunity in late August or early September. They're working with our newly formed long-term recovery group on both a new location for that event and dates, and also trying to kind of be more in coordination with the LTRG, which, you know, might have some additional services or things they can offer while they have a captive audience coming to the FEMA on re-engagement activity. And the last thing I just wanted to update on, and I forget if I mentioned this last week or not, so let me know if it's just a repeat, but we continue to be challenged by trying to find money for roads. And again, the roads kind of survived the actual fire, but are not surviving the recovery process very well. They just were not built for that many large trucks and manufactured homes and, you know, trees being fallen on them and all of that stuff. We have tried twice through the legislative process, and twice our road money was ripped out of those funding requests. Working with Senator Anderson and Representative Gomberg, they are now trying to work with ODOT and get money out of the lawnmower fund. This is something I was not aware of, but when you buy gas, of course, there is a gas tax that goes to roads, but when you buy gas and put it in a gas can, that tax does not actually go to roads. It goes to what's called a lawnmower fund. because essentially you're putting the gas into your lawnmower or boat or something like that. And those funds are slightly more broad, I guess, in what you can use them for. So like I said, Anderson and Gumberg are working with the state to try to get some money out of that lawnmower fund that we could use for some of our roads up in the Otis area that were impacted. And I know Director Kenyon is working with the two of them and ODOT directly on that request as well. So nothing is firmly committed yet, but that is the current strategy when it comes to trying to get some road repair done up there. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Director Kenyon, anything to add?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Only thing that I have to add is that I do hope to get my estimate in to ODOT within the next couple of days so they can make their decision. I went up and drove roads last week in the process of trying to put together a realistic estimate of what needs to be done, and I'll be submitting that this week. Other than that, I really have no other new news. On our end, the debris management thing is slowly winding down. Paul Seitz, who is the solid waste manager, his search for ROEs, I think, is more or less almost come to an end. But anyway, all good things come to an end, right? So that's all I have to report.
All right, that's another good thing coming to an end, huh? All right, anything more? Commissioner Jacobson or Casey?
No, thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
nothing more from me either. Thanks.
All right, well, again, continue to make progress in that area, and it is a long process still ahead of us, but still, we're making progress. All right, next item would be commissioner reports. Commissioner Jacobson, you're at the top of my screen, so I'll let you go first.
Thank you. Just not so much a report, just maybe some food for thought for us to think about, not a formal proposal. Again, just food for thought for us to maybe dig into. As I've been trying in my, copious amounts of spare time, that's a little sarcasm there, trying to dig into ARPA funds and understand them a bit better and what they can be used for and what they cannot be used for. I will say that I don't see them as broad as maybe a lot of other people do. There is quite a bit of constraints on them. However, one of the things you can do is reimburse yourself for expenses incurred over the last year for COVID-related things. So, for example, the business license fees, or I should say business inspection fees rather, that we waived last year during COVID, we should be able to reimburse ourselves for that. And additionally, I think we should at least look in, maybe ask staff to dig in a little bit and provide us more of a formal proposal to discuss. But I'd like to look at maybe doing that again. And this year, I do think it is something, at least in my cursory glance, that is something you can use ARPA money for. And while it's not a ton of money for inspections, I do think it does help businesses right now, especially the whole point of ARPA is to help businesses recover and get back on their feet. And that is something that we would be able to do that's kind of in our control and within our reach. So just some food for thought to maybe get some more information and discuss more formally later.
Okay, thank you. I'll have some comments on that too after Commissioner Hall, your reports.
Nothing to share. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, first of all, I forgot to mention that the employees that were recognized for their years of service will be receiving certificates that are hand signed by all three commissioners, no digital signatures there. And they'll also receive a lapel button recognizing the number of years that they have been of service. I'll follow up on your comments, Commissioner Jacobson. I have had some conversations with County Council Yule and Finance Director Scheer about that exact subject. And I have asked them when Council Yule returns from her family in Michigan to get down. And I think we need as a first step to come together and decide exactly what money is available and how that money can be spent. My initial impressions is there's a lot of money out there, but boy, there are a lot of limitations on how it can be spent. So I think we need to come to an agreement and understanding as to exactly how that money can be spent. And then I have suggested, and of course, we can fine tune this thought, but I've suggested that we have a workshop independent of a Board of Commissioners meeting where we can sit down and talk about the different sources of money, how those different funds can be spent, and prioritize how they will be spent. Certainly, we can't spend them all at once. So how do we spend them? And obviously, there's some time deadlines too. So I agree that that is something we should do, and I'll continue to coordinate with Council Yule and Director Scheer to try to get some information to us. And then I think it would be good to just have a workshop and talk about it.
Yeah, I think a work session would be a really great idea. I would support that. I mean, frankly, might be more than one because,
Sure.
you know, there's a lot of stuff to kind of consider. I will also say that we do still have dollars on our contract with Ernst & Young. And they do have some expertise in ARPA monies. They're helping a lot of communities, you know, deal with the same question that we're dealing with. So as we go through this, if we get into things that maybe we need some external, you know, expertise or advice on, they're also available to help with some of that stuff as well. But yeah, I think a work session would be a great idea.
Okay, so I'll continue to work with Council Yule and Director Scheer, and we may include the accountants early in that process too. Again, I think it's really critical that we understand what the money can and cannot do. And I guess I'll say, I think clearly focus on one-time expenditures versus reoccurring staff. So that the last comment I'll make is again, Commissioner Jacobson, you acknowledged the firefighters that were down on the Bootleg fire. Bootleg fire is the largest fire in the country. Last information I have is it was about 22% contained and burning over 200,000 acres. Firefighters from the Depot Bay Fire District, the Grand Ronde Fire District, which is not in our county, but they were a part of the group. The Newport Fire Department and North Lincoln Fire Rescue sent down individuals that spent 12 days down there. They are now back, and as has been noted, all are safe. But the reality is boy, we're just midway through July, and it's going to be a long fire season. And I think those individuals or representatives from those departments will probably be going back to fight that fire. So really a heartfelt appreciation for the hard work they've done. My brother was a firefighter in his youth, and I can tell you that is hard, dirty, hot work. It's not any fun in any way, shape, or form. So appreciate all they've done. And again, my thanks. With that, public comment. Casey, any public comment, or show us what public comment there has been?
Yes. Stand by and I will cue that up for you. See if I can find the right tab. Okay, here we go. And looking at our smart sheet, can you all see that now? And really not a whole lot since last week. And what we do have is in regard to short-term rentals. So no generalized input for this meeting to go on the record for the Board of Commissioners meeting here, but we do have input that will be found on our short-term rental page for the progress there.
Okay. All right. Any other information or subjects to come before this board, commissioners? None? All right. I'll make note again that we will continue to have virtual meetings until the week of August 16th. There will be no meeting of the Board of Commissioners on August 16th, but we will hold our first face-to-face in-person meeting in the Board of Commissioners room in the Lincoln County Courthouse on Wednesday, August 18th at 10 a.m. But again, there'll continue to be additional information announcing that change. Our next meeting of this Board of Commissioners will be on Monday, July 26th at 3 p.m. and it will be a virtual meeting. And with that, if there's nothing more, we are adjourned. Thank you all.